All right, so we are answering questions from our students. The first question, I think this is right up Coach Keith's alley. What advice do you have for older grapplers who can't train consistently?
That's a good question. So I would say that for older, I was a lot older when I started. You know, everything's in degrees. I would say you want to try to make the most of what time that you do have that you can train. As we get older, it's not just our own bodies, but it's the fact that we're busy with our lives. We have jobs, families, different things to take care of. So I would say that you can always try to find little pieces of time, blocks of time to watch, stuff online, matches, film, and then I would say most importantly, you just got to make the most of the time that you are actually training. So you can, record your own matches, you ask questions, try to keep notes, of things that happen within the matches. If you have time to do conditioning outside of jiu-jitsu, I would do that. Pretty much you just have to do everything you can to make the most of the time that you are training. And, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I would say define what not consistent means, because even if you can only get in once a week, twice a week, but you are doing that consistently, so you can only come in twice a week, but you do that. That's one way to be consistent. So if you're thinking that not being consistent means, if it means sporadically training, okay, yeah, then you are gonna have to train with a purpose when you're here. I always say that, and then you're going to have to do a little bit outside. If you're willing to spend a little bit of money, there are a lot of online resources for jiu-jitsu instructionals. Flow Grappling is a good one because you can watch a lot of matches. IBJJF is free on YouTube, and they have a bunch of matches of high-level black belts, even brown belt matches. They have a lot of matches. So film studying outside is a great way. So instructionals, just watching matches, see what you can pick up, and then even asking your coaches questions. So when you are in the training room, prepare questions that you have either when you're not training or when you are training. Asking questions about higher level belts, so what they would do, is another really good way to make the most of your training when you are here. That's what I would say.
This is Coach Julius. I'm on the other side of the camera. So my advice is, I think that I would ask, are you asking for advice in general, or is there something a little bit more specific? Because it's a very, very broad question. So if you're asking for training optimization, supplementary activities such as the other two coaches recommended, I think those are all good. But if you're asking for, you're having a hard time being motivated to come to class, or you're worried about your progress or something like that, I think those are all different questions. So if you want to just follow up with a second question that's more specific, I think we can give some good advice on that. Second question, how do you earn a blue belt?
How do you earn a blue belt? I would say through your training, making the most of your training, through being consistent, through coming to class. You're going to earn your belt. It's not really a hard defined thing, because it's a skill level thing, and the coaches, we've all been doing this a very long time. We can kind of see where you're at, what your knowledge is, what you're capable of doing. And generally, I would say that there's anywhere from a year to up to about 3 years of training is usually in that spot where people will tend to reach about that blue belt level. So
I would say don't make blue belt the goal would be the first step, and I would say make mastery the goal or black belt the goal, and follow the steps that we're telling you as far as training with a purpose, trying to be consistent if you can, outside strength and conditioning, film study, and if you work towards a higher goal, the blue belt's going to come a little bit easier. So with the blue belt, we say that's about, I would say, mastery of fundamental positions, but a good understanding of fundamental positions and transitions is about what the blue belt level is. But again, your goal should be mastery, and if you have a higher goal, say your goal is black belt, or be some sort of world champion, or just a higher goal, the blue belt will come easier. I know that when people make blue belt their goal and they get it, they think it's so far to the next belt. It's so hard to get to purple, brown, black. It's so hard to keep competing. So don't get yourself stuck in the focused about blue belt. I would say get focused on a much further goal. Like I said, black belt or just mastery of the martial art. And the blue belt's going to come way easier to you than you think, especially if you're following the advice of your coaches.
So what are you looking for when you're evaluating a blue belt?
What am I looking for?
Yeah.
I'm looking to, you kind of want to see that they kind of understand the fundamentals to a degree, that they have something that they're able to apply amongst the other white belts, and generally because we have a pretty good variety of belt levels in the class, you can kind of start to see when you're about that level.
But what are you looking for?
I'm looking for them to be at the skill level, and so we can do this multiple different ways. Sometimes, like through competition, like I'm looking to see, are they able, if they're on the competitive track, are they able to win at the white belt level? Are they able to make it to that next step? There's other factors that are always involved. Everything, we have a general rule. Our general rule is if everybody did what you did, would the school be better or worse? So this is so not everything, this is a martial art first and foremost. It's not just about skill level, so I don't want to think that's just the be all end all. So you want to make sure that the ideals, the philosophies that we have here at Crazy 88, all these things are part of becoming the next level. What they bring to the school as far as character, as far as all these other things, as well as the skill. So obviously you wouldn't want somebody who's not ready skill-wise to reach the next belt to go there too soon, because then they can get very defeated internally, and then they don't continue to go on. You want them to be able to progress every step along the way. So you never want anybody to go too soon on the skill level, but all the other things are also very important to us.
So from a skill perspective, what are you looking for?
I am looking for them to be able to do the techniques that we have in our curriculum for that skill level, and be able to apply them to other students of similar skill level.
Okay. Do you have to compete in order to receive a promotion?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That's very short
I mean,
answer.
I would say no. There's the illusion that you have to compete just because the competitors do move up a little bit faster, but that's just a result of the competitors going out to test themselves. So it's easier actually for the coaches to see what level that they're at, because you can be in the room, but training in the room is different than a tournament because everyone kind of knows what you're doing. So you're training with the same people, and also in the room, people are trying new things. So you're not always going 100%. You shouldn't always be going 100% A game. When you go to a tournament, it's a lot easier for the coaches to see what level you're at. However, you don't have to compete. Like what Coach Keith is saying, it's about one, being a good person, so making sure the morals and philosophies that we have are aligned with yours for the most part, and then the skill level, just being able to drill. If a coach asks you to show a move from the white belt curriculum, you can do it, no hesitation.
Right.
Maybe a little bit, but we do have that white belt curriculum, so being able to drill the techniques and then being able to apply them again to people close to your skill level in the room. But you don't have to compete. It's just easier for the coaches to see where you're at and for your to test yourself. But we've had a lot of people that have been promoted to the belt levels only competing maybe once a year or not at all.
Yep, absolutely.
What I would say, again, this is Coach Julius, is that you don't have to compete to receive a promotion. However, that is a common misconception that people have, because it seems like competitors get promoted more quickly. The big confounding factor there is that competitors also train more. So if you take most of the competitors are training 5 to 6 days a week. So the average person is usually only training 2-3 times a week. So the competitors are actually just training double the amount of time. So it's not necessarily the competition that is causing the promotions to seem to be earlier, but it's also there's also the effect of just being on the mats more. I do think that there is a benefit of competing, because it helps you to understand your game in a more uncertain environment. But in terms of do you have to compete? The answer is resounding
Right.
no.
And I would add to that, I would say that, also not only are the people who are competing, you don't want to lose the competition, so everything you're doing is more focused. It's not only you training more and more often, but you're also very focused and heightened, and anytime there's a mistake, you're trying to correct that mistake so it doesn't happen again. There's a lot of things like that go into it that would, explain why competitors tend to get promoted quickly. But the reality is that's actually the harder track. The easier track tends to be the longer track, which is the more casual thing. But absolutely, we have lots of students that have been promoted without ever competing.
The issue with the competition track being harder is because oftentimes if you compete at a high level, the belt promotions you're actually held to a higher standard if they feel that you can you can win something big.
Yeah.
So for example, if we use Vanessa as an example, she took 3rd place at the World Championship her very first year at purple belt, and that's more than enough credentials to move somebody up to brown belt, except that because it was her first year and she has competitive goals, we held her back another year because we thought that she could win gold if we held her back one more year, as opposed to moving her up right away.
Right.
So there is a pro and con in terms of the speed of the promotion.
Right.
However, in terms of whether or not you get promoted, it's mostly based on the skill and knowledge that you demonstrate, not based on any competitive requirement.
Yeah, and I feel like you've talked about too, regardless of skill and how fast you're accumulating it, it's good to keep people at a certain belt for a while, because at a certain point every belt kind of has a little bit of a difference in what you need to know and skill. So what you need to know might get smaller, but I think it's harder to learn that. So we say the biggest gap in skill is from white to blue, because you're coming right off the street knowing nothing, and then a blue belt, which is you should be able to kind of go out, if you're in a street fight, God forbid, and you should be able to defend yourself or do well. But then you go from blue to purple, and the skill gap is smaller, but it's harder to learn that just because it's a little bit extra, requires more effort. So if you feel like you're being held for a long time in a certain belt, it mostly might just be because the coach is waiting for you to kind of understand the specifics of that belt or the skill level that you would need for that certain thing. So regardless of how fast you're moving up in skill, sometimes the coach will hold you a little bit so that you have a little bit of not pressure, but urgency to learn what you need to learn at that certain skill level.
Yeah, especially if you're competing, because you don't want that. You don't want to move up too fast, like I said before.
Next question. How long does it usually take to get good enough to be promoted to blue belt?
Say a good benchmark if you're training consistently. Say the average is about 2, but we've seen people get promoted faster and take a little bit longer. It's really just up to the effort you're putting in, how much you're training, how much purpose you're putting into training, because you could be here for 5-6 years and the coaches don't feel like you're at that skill level if you're not training with a purpose. But some people can come in and do it. What was our fastest coach? Just 6 months, just because they come in.
No, John Del Bruges, I believe, got promoted in like 30 days or something.
I thought it was 3 months.
I don't remember. It was fast.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
very
so
fast.
pretty fast. It's just the effort put in. Sometimes you come in with a background too, wrestling, judo,
Yeah.
and that helps.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, not everybody comes in at the same place, so it's not really fair to just benchmark where you're at with where someone else is at. I mean, even if it's a different sport, like you have somebody that comes and plays D1 football, they coming in a different place physically and with the body awareness and things like that than somebody who maybe never played any sports in their whole life, right? Or never did anything athletic, because we've had people from both extremes in all walks of life that have come in here, all age groups. And so I would say the average is about 1 year to 3 years, on average. 3 years being on the little bit more, 1 year being on a little bit more athletic side, 3 years being on a little bit more casual. But but sometimes it takes way longer than that, right? And then there's also other mitigating factors, like you might train consistently, but then there was an injury, you're off for a year, right? And then that sets you back, and then it could cause the time limit to be longer. or you could, you got busy with your life or you got, your job transferred you somewhere and you came back and you hadn't trained in a while. All these things happen, and so the time for sure can get stretched out. But if you just want to know the average is about 1 to 3 years, I would say.
I agree.
Should I bow out and in of the mat?
I would say yes. I think that it's good to show a little of respect to the environment when you come in. It puts you a little bit, even from your own personal training, it puts you in a mindset of what you're about ready to do. You come in, you bow in, you're more focused, you're ready to come in, and then you bow out. And again, we are first and foremost, we are a martial arts school, and so I think I think it's a good thing.
I agree. We always teach the kids to do that, to show a little respect, and it goes along with the focus where if they bow in, they're in a zone, they're focused, and when they bow out, they know that they're done. So, and some people even bow at the door and then the mat. It's just up to how much you want to bow. You can even bow when you first walk into the gym. It's okay. But I would say it's respect to your teammates, to your coaches, even just to the mats that you're training on. And then again, it puts you in that mindset of, all right, we're ready to go. And then when you bow out, you're done, and hopefully, you're proud of what you did that day.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is we should expand on this next one. Should I seek permission to get on and off the mat?
I think that obviously there are certain times when you have to run off the mat or whatever the case may be. But I think as a general rule, I think that you should. It's just kind of respectful. Obviously, the coach doesn't care if you have to go to the bathroom, and so you're like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, it's not like he's gonna say no. But I think that it sets a good precedent because we have had times in the past where you have a guy and he leaves in the middle of the instruction, right? And then he comes back and he's like, hey, what can you show me what we did? It's like, and then you're taking away from the class. You're taking, now the coach has to spend more time with you or and takes away from other stuff where he could have just waited. So the coach is like, just let me show the instruction first and then you can go, and things like that. So I just think that it's, again, a little bit back to being respectful to the learning environment. If you were in college or in high school or wherever and you're in class, you wouldn't just walk out of the class and then just walk back in, and disrupt the learning that's going on.
What I would say, to use the college example, in college you can walk in and walk out, but you definitely wouldn't say, hey, what did I miss? Can you go over it again?
Right.
I would say
yeah, for sure.
especially in big lecture halls, I just leave. But I always make sure when I leave, I'm not slamming the door open. It silently
Just
squeeze
quietly
myself out.
excusing yourself.
I would say permission is the highest form of respect that you can give to the coach and your partner. But at least just letting somebody know you're leaving, because a lot of times when you're trying to pair up for sparring and someone's missing but you didn't realize they were gone, it messes with the partnering, it messes with the group. So at least just letting people know, I would say let your coach know and let your partner know, and try to do it at a time that's not inconvenient. So,
yeah, and I would say that sometimes the coach wants to make sure you're okay, right? Like, they're like, where did such and such go? Is he all right? And then nobody knows because you just walked off the class. So I just think it's a good rule of thumb. I don't think that you're going to get in big trouble if you excuse yourself from the class or anything crazy like that. I just think that, again, it's just a little bit goes back to just be respectful, let people know where you're at, what's going on, and for sure, don't be disruptive when you do it, or
do your best not to leave the mat during instruction. It's probably the worst time. I say warm-up's okay.
For sure has happened.
Drilling when it's your turn is okay, and sparring is okay, as long as you just let the coach know, because sometimes that does mess with the partnering, the grouping, and then if you leave your partner to use the bathroom, at least acknowledge it, and then try to be quick too. That's a big thing, is don't take forever in the bathroom, just try to be quick, but definitely acknowledge, let someone know you're leaving.
I would also add to that, if you have to leave practice early, just let the coach know during the class.
Right.
If you just disappear in the middle, it's extremely disruptive.
Right. I actually prefer that if you're going to let someone, or if you need to leave early, because sometimes you want to come in, but you have to work, so you have to leave 15 minutes early. I always say just let the coach know on the front end.
Right.
By and large, the coach will always say it's fine, right? And you can always just come, you can leave early, it's no problem. But you should let them know, because again, it looks weird to the other students. Sometimes it's disruptive if you just leave. And so I just think that is a good rule of thumb. You just let them know at the beginning of class, and the coach will usually just say it's fine.
What can I do to stop feeling dizzy or sick after a jiu-jitsu class?
I would say first figure out why.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why are you feeling dizzy?
I mean, it could be as simple as low sugar levels, so you might need to make sure. I drink body armor during the day.
Hydration.
Yeah, drinking a lot of water, making sure you're hydrating. I drink water and body armor. I drink a lot of fluids to make sure that doesn't happen. Making sure you're eating enough calories.
Yep.
A lot of the times you can feel sick if you ate bad that day. So I would say try to figure out the root cause. So sometimes it could be as simple as changing your diet, drinking more water, or cutting out the sugary stuff like sodas and junk food. And then if that doesn't help, then I would seek medical help and see if there's anything that is really underlying that you would need to take care of.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with all of those things. I think that also, how in shape are you? Because I will say that if you're not in a lot of shape and you're working out hard, your body will overheat. And when you overheat, you get nauseous. So if you're getting nauseous after sparring really hard, or if the coach is making you guys do conditioning that day and you're doing a lot of running and then you feel like you're gonna throw up, that often is your body overheating, and it's because usually you're not in good shape. That usually will just correct itself over time. But if you do have an underlying condition, or if you're worried, I for sure seek out a professional opinion. But sometimes it's just if you just bring a little ice pack or something and then pop the ice pack and put it on the back of your neck,
Have someone pour the water on your
the nausea will just go away. If that's the reason. But if you put an ice pack on the back of your neck and you're like, no, I'm feeling terrible, then maybe it's something else.
Yeah, you have to make sure you're in shape. When I would wrestle in high school, I would always throw up the first practice of the year. Always. I'm always going to throw up. I sort of knew it. And it was unavoidable. Right? So that was okay. You get used to it. But feeling dizzy, that one is a little bit off. So you probably, you have to say what's the reason why. Is it diet? Are you out of shape? Is it hydration? So,
Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I don't, like I said, otherwise I would have to say see a doctor.
Dizzy is usually you're depleted of something. Sick usually means you're out of shape or you ate something or drank something.
Right.
Are there any specific food or meals that you recommend we eat prior to class?
I like this one. I always eat before practice.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I
always.
recommend don't eat before practice.
I think it's just that's the biggest thing is avoid dairy. So I know milk and high-fat yogurt will make you sick. But for me, for me personally, I can get away with eating a lot. But I know that depending on what I eat, it'll either make the practice really good for me or really bad. So I would say my favorite thing is to eat some sort of carb, and then I like fruit, and then I'll drink the body armors or any type of Gatorade or something a little before to make sure that my sugar levels are good. I would say fruit is good. Any type of a whole grain carb, like a granola bar. I like to eat, I eat protein waffles now, so I'll have a protein waffle and some fruit. I can eat yogurt, but that just depends on how how you can handle the dairy before practice. I don't eat full fat, super crazy. So say just something light, something clean, and then also just kind of know your body. Because I can eat a lot before practice. I could eat a whole meal and I'll be okay, but some people can't. So I'd say just stick to something. Veggies, fruit, some whole grains. That's always good.
Yeah. I like to take the old wise tale, what they would say when you go swimming. They would say, don't eat. You'll get cramps if you eat an hour before swimming. So I'd kind of apply that to jiu-jitsu. Don't eat an hour before jiu-jitsu. Preferably 2 hours. That was my thing. And we actually had a conditioning guy, and he actually said the same thing. It's try to eat about 2 hours before. If you have to eat, try to keep it within an hour. And then for sure, he would always say no dairy within that hour if you have to eat last minute. Eating light, because there's times where you're cutting a lot of weight for a tournament, and you need to eat something because you weighed in and you can eat something, but you wouldn't want to gorge yourself. So granola bar if you're hungry, if you need something light that you're not going to make yourself sick. I definitely wouldn't try to get stuffed before
That's
training
always
session.
bad. If I eat too much, that's always a problem. But just up to you and what you can tolerate.
Right.
Okay. What is a good source to study outside of the gym for basic moves?
Oh, there's a ton. So when I was coming up, there was no, all the stuff on YouTube wasn't there. So like I remember like we would like Jiu-Jitsu University and these DVD sets that they would come out. But I would say nowadays like almost anything you can get on these online courses and YouTube. Just kind of, I would just say, try to not go to the most extreme jits bro, berimbolo.
Well, they said basic.
Yeah, that's what I
What
mean,
sources
just like-
for basic moves?
Yeah, I would still say like there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's like Jiu-Jitsu University, for basics. There was, there pretty much all the reputable guys have some sort of online. Hodger Gracie had a good one, and then you'll find a lot of basics on YouTube. If the coach tells you a move and you write the name of the move down, you can usually go to YouTube and it's like, so the coach is showing mount escapes, and you just go to YouTube, look up mount escapes. You'll see a lot of really good stuff.
It helps too if you ask the coach for the curriculum, because a lot will just give it to you of what you either need to know for that strike or even the next strike,
Right.
and you can look things up from there. I like even watching just matches, because black belt matches are high level, but if you watch them, a lot of them do, like some of them do basics, like I would say like Hodger, Lucas Dupree, they have really good fundamentals and they can still use them at a high level. So I would say looking at certain black belt matches that are pretty good and can still use their fundamentals is always good. But I would say ask your coach for the curriculum, and then you can easily YouTube search anything that's on there. Sometimes they have a different name than what we say, but
And then when you watch the guy doing it, just make sure you're watching someone that's somewhat reputable, because there's a lot of, lower level blue belts and stuff putting up stuff on YouTube. I'd just say, look for the real guys. You can easily look up their names, guys, world champion stuff, and they're doing.
Give them some
moves.
names.
If we're doing, if Hodger, Lepre,
Angelo, Bernardo Faria,
Rafa Mendez, if like
both the Mendes brothers,
right,
Janji.
Janji, if any of the guys are doing the moves from our curriculum that we gave you, then I'm sure, and there are a lot of different variations out there, but I'm sure whatever you're going to get from those guys is going to be a good source for you.
Okay, cool.